So, for this video, let's discuss the 1997 Japanese psychological horror film Perfect Blue and how it relates to the uncanny and multiple film theory concepts. First off, what is the uncanny? Famous or infamous psychologist Sigmund Freud's essay, aptly titled The Uncanny, defined it as that species of the frightening that goes back to what was once well known and had long been familiar. So, essentially, this means deriving fear from something comforting and familiar. In order to understand how this concept shows up in Perfect Blue, let's do a quick summary. While it's an animated film, do not show it to children, or else they'll end up with more nightmares than the main character Mima. It's the second most terrifying foreign film for free on YouTube. The movie starts with a pop star, Mima, leaving her girl group to pursue an acting career. She has a super creepy stalker who gives her a love letter containing a link to a website in which she chronicles everything she does from her point of view. In the meantime, she gets more and more significant roles on the crime TV show she's on, though it comes at a cost, as she is in a graphic rape scene and takes a nude photo shoot, turning her from a Madonna or virtuous woman into a whore. Mima begins seeing the old pop idol version of herself in reflections, and descends into madness, no longer able to distinguish reality from dreams from fictional scenes on her TV show. Both the screenwriter of the crime show and the photographer of Mima's nude photo shoot end up murdered. After shooting wraps on the crime show, Mima's stalker attempts to kill her, stating she is an imposter of Mima, tarnishing the image of the real Mima, or her innocent pop idol self. Mima is chased and hunted down by her pop idol version of herself, who alternates looking like Rumi, her agent, and another former pop star. It ends with Rumi in a mental hospital and Mima confident in her own identity again. It's important to note many events in the story remain ambiguous and up for interpretation. So, how does Perfect Blue use the uncanny to frighten the audience? Double versions of yourself are a staple of both the horror genre and the uncanny, and Mima is haunted by a double version of herself. But why are double versions of ourselves so uncanny? We are all familiar with the reflection in the mirror and the voice we hear in our heads, but a lot of people don't like watching videos of themselves or listening to recordings of themselves talking, because it's just slightly different, deriving fear from the familiar. Psychologist Charles Feigelson wrote an essay on something similar to what Mima experienced, the mirror dream. In this, he introduces both the concepts of his predecessors. That doubling can be used as a defense against loss is inherent in the concepts of both Freud and Rank. He discusses his patients' occurrences of mirror dreams, then comes to the conclusion their preoccupation with loss and changed state of consciousness were experiential derivatives that stimulated the mirror imagery. So a possible interpretation of Perfect Blue, backed by psychological concepts, is that Mima's subconscious created the doppelganger, the previous version of Mima, as an innocent pop idol to cope with the change and loss of innocence she felt transitioning to acting. Now let's look at Perfect Blue through the lens of some common film theories. First, the theory of realism, or questioning if a film could realistically happen in the real world. Perfect Blue is not a realist film. Its events constantly call into question if they really happened, and it has a fantastical elements like portrayal of a doppelganger. This style is reinforced by the choice of animation as its medium. Though you could theoretically argue Perfect Blue's events were due to a real phenomenon like hallucination or mental illness, it's clear Perfect Blue prioritizes thematic takeaways over realism. So, what are these thematic takeaways? Perfect Blue can be interpreted as a social commentary on classism and sexism. Mima seems to internalize negative values about herself as she faces exploitation, being a worker in the entertainment industry and a young woman. Under Marxist theory, Mima would be considered a member of the proletariat, or working class, in both her job as a pop singer and actress. Also, Marx saw culture, the industry Mima works in, as society's superstructure, which stemmed from and reinforce the values of whatever economic system is in place. In this case, capitalism. The pressure of working for others is stressful to Mima and her agents, who want to find the best way to advertise her to the masses, whether it is as a pop star or an actress. This leads Mima to view herself as a commodity, and it is how the larger society views her, alienating her from her sense of self, and leading to the creation of her double, of her previous identity, and the breakdown of her reality. Another theory Perfect Blue can be analyzed with is feminist theory. Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory supposes films use female characters as attractive objects to be viewed rather than as complex humans. Perfect Blue critiques how Mima is viewed through the male gaze. When performing with her pop group in the beginning, she has an all-male audience. Her male stalker writes down everything she does from her perspective and changes her character when he dislikes how she is behaving in reality. Her TV show has a male screenwriter who sexualizes her character. And the photographer of her photo shoot pressures her to take off her clothes. Camera imagery is present throughout Perfect Blue and represents how Mima is defined by her reputation and perception men have of her. Mima is mostly viewed by other characters as just a pretty girl, whether she is an innocent pop star or a risque actress. This is so fundamental to how the world views her that she internalizes it, and her change in perception causes her to be haunted by her past identity. This horror and disconnection, caused by Mima being exploited by society, leads to the double of herself being created and her losing her grasp upon reality.